And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in business with a community showdown between the Dinos and the High Elves. It's going to be Flying Taco facing off against Felcon. Actually, a clash of ECL champions. Should be quite a bit of fun. We have the Crocscore Ancient facing off against, I believe, an Archmage of Metal. Looking like the Final Transmutation is going to be the ace in the hole for the High Elves, and it's pretty good for sure. Lizards do tend to blob up a little bit. They have powerful characters and monsters and things like that. So occasionally, such witchcraft can do quite well for you. So for the forces of Flying Taco, it's going to be a front line of Chameleon Stalkers. Apparently, from the whispers I've heard in the community, Chameleon Stalkers have been perceived pretty well against the Elvish factions, and that makes sense. The Precursor ammunition, of course, doing great work against the light armor of the Rangers and the Spearmen, who only have 40 armor, so I can see that being quite nice. Also mobile, pretty disruptive in the backfield, and overall, I think a pretty cool inclusion. I really do like to see the Chameleon Stalkers, a more generic, less flashy unit in the DLC, being a big winner in some ways. Aside from that, we do have Crocsagores. Looks like there's going to be 3 or 4 of them in total. A lot of spanking paddles. Crocsagore Ancient with the Horn of Kygor and Amulet of Itza. We got a Skank Priest of Manticore Summoning with the new Curse of Onrare, which if you guys haven't seen this, let me go ahead and show you. The curse is quite powerful. Lowers melee attack and melee defense and speed. Pretty much all the essentials of ye old combat. And the Dinos do also have some cavalry. So Colden Riders are, pretty decent against High Elves. If they go with Reavers or Silver Helms, Colden Riders are able to win both of those respective engagements. And again, another piece with which you can cause some disruption in the back line. That appears to be it. More Stalkers and some light Skink Skirmisher presence on the outside. Now for Felcon's army, the Dark Lord coming in with the Rangers. Rangers will, I'm not sure how they would trade against Chameleon Stalkers. They both have, similar stat lines, I suppose. Let's go ahead and take a look. So 36 and 25. No, it's weapon strength, actually. So 22, 36. So the Rangers a little bit more aggressive on the output, but they do lack the Precursor, but they do also have a much higher model count. HP 5.6 to 4.4 for the Chameleon Stalkers. So the Rangers in a pure grind might win. I guess it depends on how effective the Precursor ammunition is. So yeah, Rangers against like Saurus, Chameleon Skinks, Skink Cohorts, all those different units, they seem to do okay in my experience. But High Elves, tend to struggle with just their infantry in the front line. I find that a lot of their infantry isn't as cost effective as some of the other factions, although it might just be my lack of skill with the High Elves in general. Spearmen on the flanks, in the backfield, Sisters of Avalorn, 4 of them actually. That's pretty serious, and that gives you a lot of armor piercing stopping power for the Crocsagores, cavalry, monsters. 4 is pretty heavy metal though, for sure, backed up by Spearmen and a bunch of Reaver cavalry. So there are going to be 4 of the very cheap Reavers, which, if a Reaver can get its hands on the Chameleon Stalkers and a square engagement and or ride down Skink Cohorts, that can be pretty nice. Here comes Felcon's Lord flying up and above the Archmage of Metal, using the Armor of the Stars as well as the Conduit, moving in, and the Sisters of Avalorn with a very, very nasty volley, only killing 1 of the Chameleon Stalkers, but still doing some nice damage. And now the Precursor ammunition moving in and doing good work so far, able to pepper into the Rangers and pulling back right now. Chameleon Stalkers might end up wasting their ammo too on the Archmage. Sometimes it does do that. It's a little bit clunky, but man, okay, not wasted. That was some really good damage. That was actually the Precursor ammunition onto the single entity, onto the Archmage. So apparently it has some teeth in that engagement as well. So here you can see the Reavers charging in with the Spearmen. Should be able to put some hurt on the Chameleon Stalkers with a little bit of spear support. That's a big commitment right there. Now the Reaver is going to be pulling back, trying to secure the backfield, and that's going to be a big task because Flying Taco is coming in pretty balls deep. A lot of angry crocodiles, and they got their spanking paddles ready. They just finished watching Dazed and Confused, and they're good to go. So here comes the Final Transmutation. That's going to be a very, very nice one there by Felcon. Talk about massive value. Overcasted, it hits 2 Crocsagores, a cavalry unit, the Skink Priest, the Lord. I mean, pretty much everyone there kind of got buttered up by that. So that was a beautiful cast, the type of things you really need to, get ahead in the world. On this particular flank, Colden Riders kind of getting fended off by spears, as well as some Overwatch fire coming in from the Sisters of Avalorn. And back in the epicenter of combat, you can see the Chameleon Stalkers and Crocsagores and company just kind of fighting through Rangers, but for the most part, that Final Transmutation was really, really brutal. Did a ton of damage to those units, and the bounce power is pretty even at this point, even a little bit High Elf favored after that. However, Felcon's Lord is pretty low, and it's on the ground. If this Archmage of Metal does get caught down here by the Crocscore Ancient or any number of other high-mass dinos, going to be pretty rough. Archmages are not best in combat, not terrible though. I mean, they do have the martial prowess of the High Elves, which gives them a little bit of sustainability, but overall they're not the fanciest business. So here we have some Colden Riders moving up and around the flank. This Spearman of Felcon moving about face to screen out the Sisters of Avalorn, perhaps. Skink Cohorts and Crocsagores doing a good job crawling all over the missile pieces here in the back, and that one Crocsagore just toe punching that Sister of Avalorn. Kind of looks like, oh my god, oh, she just got 8. Damn, look at that. Have I seen that oh my god, look at that. Swallowed whole. Holy shit, I don't know if I've ever seen that animation. Have you guys seen that before? You must have. That was pretty freaky though, for sure. So that crocodile just quite literally ate that Sister of Avalon. That's a pretty unfortunate fate for sure. Now, back to the actual mechanics and functionality here of the battlefield. Spheres chasing down the cavalry units, which have been staggered here. Sisters shooting a little bit happily here, but clearly there has been an order given by Falcon, or excuse me, by Flying Taco. I'm used to seeing them both play Lizards here. But the Chameleons are going to be moving in, or the Skink cohorts, I should say, on top of the Sisters. But they're not bad in combat. Sisters of Avalon probably could fend off Skink cohorts with relative ease. So Coldland Riders and Chameleon Stalkers continuing to fight in a very messy fight out here on the flank. Looks like they're trying to, with their end goal being to jump on the Sisters of Avalon here. But, you know, again, a very even fight. It looks like the Lizards kind of brought it back a little bit. They were behind on the bounce of power, but now it's like truly back in the middle here, as some of the missile pieces are compromised and chased. As far as what the High Elves have left, we got some Rangers here, some Sisters in combat, more Rangers, a couple loose cavalry units kind of riding around the battlefield via the Reavers, but the Golden Riders here about to get a very nice charge, and the Golden Riders should be able to make pretty damn quick work of 14 Reavers. Not only do they have the numbers advantage, but again, they are just like more powerful at that respective fight. Maybe with the Sisters fighting there, it could help a little bit, but it looks like these Sisters of Avalon are slowly being dragged down by the Stalkers. And the Lizard's getting a very good engagement on this kind of top section of the battlefield as it pertains to my camera angle, but here, the High Elves are kind of stabilizing. Spears moving in, Rangers grinding down the Skink cohort Javelins, and 1-2 units of Sisters of Avalon, 80 in total, are still functional and could still put some hurt here on the battlefield. Cavalry being sent in from the Flying Taco are immediately intercepted by spears, and the brave spearmen of the High Elf Empire of Lothern should be able to hold back those guys. And the Archmage of Metal, you also have to remember, there is that ace in the hole. We saw one overcasted final transmutation, which I think does cost like close to 30 winds of magic. So it's probably taking Falcon some time to rebuild that, but the initial one did give him the advantage, and we'll see if the second one can close out the game for him, or if the Flying Taco will be able to reign supreme here with his combat character. Because again, without the magic, the Archmage of Metal isn't going to be nearly as impactful as this big angry crocodile here who has popped the Amulet of Itzel. Looking around, more Stalkers moving back in, the Skink Skirmishers moving back, Croxagors with spanking paddles ready, piling into the Rangers, but also taking a substantial amount of fire here from the braced Sisters of Avalon. And the Archmage of Metal with Armor of the Stars, stock, and Unspottable. Very, very sneaky bird is back up in the sky, although I think it's still visible at this point. Wonder if it's going to be charging into any of the Croxagors. That'd be a little bit ballsy, but maybe for a final transmutation. Clearly, the Arcane Conduits are active, so that is kind of the intention, I think, in the later stages of the game. Bounce of Power, dead even at this point. Probably a little bit Lizard favored, but again, it's very, very close. They have a nice pocket here. They got the Croxagor Ancient, they have the Chameleon Stalkers, all of them are buffed up. The Horn of Kygor is giving them some good force multiplying effects, and you can see a lot of the High Elf infantry are breaking before the might of these angry crocodiles. Look at that, guys. Just walks like a true alpha, true Chad dinosaur. So there it is, the final transmutation, and the bounce power is Lizard favored right now, but let's see how it is. Oh man, that final transmutation is so foul, and that one was overcasted too. Oh man, that is so nasty. Croxagors just got melted, and the Ancient got melted, and as that goes off, you just see the bounce of power immediately go back into the favor of the High Elves. Like, that Croxagor unit was pretty healthy, and after all was said and done with that witchcraft, it was certainly in pretty bad shape. So the Croxagor partially turned to gold here by the lore of metal, and now we have a very, very even game on our hands. Maybe even High Elf favored, as Falcon does have a couple loose cab units like we talked about earlier, and they're going to be exceptional at chasing down a lot of these routing units, whereas the Dinos don't really have a similar mechanism. Their cavalry are gone, right? So there's not going to be as much to punish these routing units. That gives Falcon the opportunity to maybe rally them and consolidate his forces in the later stages of the game. And I mean, even having just 16 Sisters right now is really, really nice, considering that the Croxagor Ancient is pretty damn low. So any work you can get in there is going to be really nice. I don't think we'll be seeing another final transmutation in this game unless it went like another 5 or 6 minutes. It would take forever to build up that Winds of Magic. But yeah, I think the two that we did see are probably just value city. This Archmage of Metal probably well over 2,000 value, I would imagine. So Dinos forming Helm's Deep, but very scary. We have 85 spears right here. 85 spears is going to be very tough to get through, especially considering we have 20 Sisters, so 27 plus 16. Pretty nice for sure. That is a lot of firepower. And I think the Dinos are going to lose this game. It looks like Falcon was able to pull it back. He was very, very behind, but catching pretty much everything of value that the Lizards have twice in a row with those final transmutations, I think was enough to give him the game. And the Sisters, of course, just holding on to the bitter end is very nice. Croxagor Ancient trying to stay fighting, but it's fighting spears. And though it does have 120 armor and some forms of damage mitigation, it's not going to be happy in this situation. As a matter of fact, the Archmage of Metal might even get its hands dirty here and just charge in there and fight. I don't think that would be a bad idea to break this bad boy. 1 or 2 big pecks from the Eagle probably will do the trick. So here comes the Croxagor Ancient, negative 162, and the game is going to be won by the High Elves. GG, well played. That was a really fun match between two top-tier players. And training partners, they clearly practiced together here. Falcon said this was a practice game. It was certainly fun. Stalkers, 400, 700, 500, 1100 on that one to 600 here. Pretty good performance for most of the Stalkers. I mean, a couple of them, three of the 5 paid for themselves, which isn't bad. The Ancient, he was a G as always. More of a force multiplying effect with Horn of Kygor and hard to snipe, but yeah, man, that was a really, really good game. Some of the Croxies did okay too, but yeah, close match. 3,200 value. Clearly, we know what won that game. It was the magic of the Archmage here with the 3,200. The Sisters had some nice performances too, though. 900, 800, 1,100. I mean, none of them quite went berserk and paid or overdid themselves, but they in the end, it still was nice for bringing down the Croxigors. But I really think all of it came down to the magic usage. That was hands down just the nastiest, most punishing magic for sure. All right, well played to these 2 ECL champions, my friends. We'll see you back soon. Speaking of the ECL, I'm just kind of waiting for Creative Assembly to put out the patch fixing some of the chariots and other things before I do that, just so I don't have to put stupid rules in place like banning units. I think that's kind of silly. So, all right, that's it. Take care of yourselves. Thanks for joining. We'll see you on the other side. Take care.